Okay, let's talk about this interview with Patty Wood. She's a body language expert. Patty, first of all, thanks for coming in. Your overall reaction in general, before we start to break this down, your reaction to watching George Zimmerman for an hour on television.
Yes, and having watched also his courtroom testimony as well. His baseline, I think the viewers typically are finding disturbing because he doesn't have a lot of affect. He's a C, or correct or get it right, on the DISC personality style, which means more restrained body language, calmer, even tone, not a lot of vocal variation. So that's his normal. And under stress, we tend to go more extreme on our normal range. So that's why I believe he has that restricted body language, that odd sort of bird military-like head placement, and the odd eye contact. But we're expecting him to be contrite, humble, emotional. So it's very disturbing for us to watch.
Oh, okay. Look, I want to play another soundbite because there's one point where George Zimmerman was asked to reflect on what happened, and that is, when you use the word reflect, that's when you would expect some sort of emotion, right? Okay, let's go ahead and play that.
A lot of time has passed since this incident with Trayvon. How do you feel about it now that you've had some time to reflect on what has happened?
I haven't really had the time to reflect on it. When I was in jail, obviously I was in solitary confinement, and I had a lot of time to think and reflect. I just think it's a tragic situation, and I hope it's the most difficult thing I'll ever go through in my life, but...
Okay, so Patty, there's that deep breath, right?
Right, a cleansing breath, yes.
And then he says, I haven't really had time to reflect, but then he follows up with, when he did have time to reflect. What's your reaction?
Actually, first, that breath, that cleansing breath, I see a lot. That's the first question in the interview. So a lot of times I hear it and see that at the very beginning of an interview when the person has planned their response. And they're getting ready, and then they're sort of disturbed in the process. So the wording actually matched up with his body language. I haven't had time to reflect. I think actually what that was saying non-verbally is, I didn't want to reflect. I don't want to reflect. And you even see the head motion no, and you see an eye block as he talks about tragic situation.
Okay, so was that cleansing breath something he was taught to do, coached to do?
We do it naturally when we're under stress. It's kind of girding the loins, getting ready like you're about to jump into a pool or feel the cold wave in the ocean. It's your body responding to the stress situation. But typically I see it, because I've been doing this for a long time, when somebody has a planned response ready.
Got it. Okay, I want to play another soundbite. There's a point at which George Zimmerman turns and basically directly addresses viewers and everyone who's watching this and who wants something out of it from him. Let's watch that. Okay.
I do want to tell everyone, my wife, my family, my parents, my grandmother, the Martins, the city of Sanford, and America, that I'm sorry that this happened. I hate to think that because of this incident, because of my actions, it's polarized and divided America, and I'm truly sorry.
Okay, now I'm going to remind viewers that you said that his baseline is kind of a flat affect anyway, because that was extremely flat.
Yes.
But having said that, what's your reaction?
There's so much that's still revealing. Remember, this is 6 months or so after the event. He's planning this response, but on the everyone, which he struck very harder than anything else in that sentence, there was a big eye block. In other words, he didn't want to say this to everyone. He's blocking the desire to want to have to say this to anyone, the fear and concern. He doesn't want to say it to anyone. The most emotional part of that apology was about his wife. There's a breath, there's a pause. He says that very emotionally. That is a person who's truly sorry that is experiencing any of this pain due to the situation. What's most revealing is a gesture cluster as he goes into talking about apology to the Martins. He does a lip compress. He's pressing in his true emotional state. Then he does a lip suck. In other words, he's sucking in on the mouth, again, restraining his true emotional state.
Really?
Then, as he says Martin, he does a lip lick, sticking out his tongue and erasing what he had to say there. So sticking out his tongue, more defiance, and then erasing, because he doesn't really truly have to say this, and then compressing the lips again. So of all that apology statement, he's actually resisting the most important apology there. Now, that may make sense for him, but that was very revealing.
You know, so lawyers agree to these interviews sometimes, which always, as a journalist and as the viewers, why are you doing that, right? Because you feel like that you can coach them to say certain things, but it seems like that your body will always tell the truth in some way.
If you're giving out up to 10,000 cues in less than a minute, which you can possibly do, you can't control all of those responses. And so many times under stress, your limbic brain is going to take over, even though you're saying all the right things with your neocortex, with your words.
Okay, Patty, fascinating stuff. Thank you so much.